Welcome back to Internal Affairs, a police podcast. Today we are breaking down the Scottie Scheffler incident that happened in Louisville, Kentucky. And we invited Bill Seki, not because he's just an avid golfer, but he is a criminal defense attorney. We had him in an episode to tell you all about his journey. But more important than anything, we're going to be discussing the criminal proceedings that happened with Scottie Scheffler. And we're also going to talk about the administrative process as it relates to Detective Gillis, who was involved in this incident. So stand by and we'll get right to it. But before we actually discuss it, we need you to watch just this video that depicts a conversation when Scottie Scheffler was arrested with, I believe, to be the sergeant at scene. Take a look.
Guys.
Dude, step back. Back up.
I'm back. I'm back.
You're game one, right?
Vehicle in handcuffs after he tried to pull around what he believed to be security, ended up being police officers. They told him to stop. When he didn't stop, the police officer attached himself to the vehicle. Scheffler then traveled another 10 yards before stopping the car.
Okay, we're Code 6 again with Bill Seki. Thanks for coming, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
This is going to be an interesting breakdown considering I had to get a hold of you because I know you're an avid golfer. We are going to talk about the Scott Scheffler case that happened out in Louisville, Kentucky. I felt it's important not just to talk about what happened in the criminal proceedings, but, let's have a little chat about the administrative process as it relates to the officer involved. So, let's just give me a quick synopsis or summary of what happened, because I know we read the articles
Right.
and people talk about it,
Right.
but kind of walk me through what happened with the number one world ranking golfer.
So, just an incredible turn of events. You've got the PGA Championship, which is the second major in golf. It's in Louisville, Kentucky. Scottie Scheffler, the number one golfer in the world, had come off of 5 wins in a row. He's the odds-on favorite to win. He's going to go to the course early in the morning, and there are shuttles, huge buses that are taking spectators back and forth. And early morning hours, one of the shuttles ends up hitting somebody and killing them. Right, so there's a fatal there. Scottie doesn't know what the holdup is on all the traffic, because on most of these golf courses, there's one road in, one road out. And so he's driving. Somebody directs him to basically end up going the opposite against traffic to get into the golf course. He sees the gates open and he's driving, and then apparently an officer ends up telling him to stop. He doesn't. He eventually stops, and they're having this conversation. Something happens between them, and then at that point in time, Scottie ends up pressing on the gas. The officer's hanging on, is either dragged or falls, tears his pants, and Scottie pulls up. Before he gets to the gate, he's stopped. People are running at him, take him out of the car, arrest him, take him to jail, charged with a felony for an assault against a police officer. I don't know what the code section is under Kentucky law. He's in jail. He's actually put in an orange jumpsuit. There's a photograph of him in his booking photo. He ends up exercising in his cell, and somehow they get him out after he's arraigned and back to the course in time for him to make his tee time, and he ends up shooting like 5 under par for that round after he's been arrested. And eventually, a couple days later, a week later I think, they end up dismissing all the charges, dropping all the charges.
One other factor is, wasn't it when he was in the car in contact with, I believe his name is Detective Brian Gillis.
Right.
Didn't he kind of jam him or hit him with his flashlight, attempting to stop or something along those lines?
One of the things that comes out is when Scottie's sitting in the back of the patrol car, he's handcuffed, he's Mirandized, he's giving a statement, and he's explaining to the officer or supervisor, whoever's there, well, yeah, I didn't know who he was, and then he reached in and he hit me with his flashlight. And it was after that that he ends up accelerating his car, as far as we can tell. So he's assaulted at that point in time, but he doesn't know why this guy's hitting him. He says, well, I don't know if he was security or if he's a police officer. And again, you know, somebody had let him through and he thought he was good to go.
Yeah, some statements he made was something along the lines that, look, they're all wearing a yellow vest, and he couldn't tell the difference between whether it was a security guard or a police officer. And also, just so we make sure, in terms of flushing out the details here, there was no body-worn video, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. There is a video depicting from like 40 feet from a camera that depicts him driving, stopping, and then he gets pulled out of the car, and then they
it's actually further away. I think what you saw was enhanced. It was across the street, so it's over the bus, and it's like really kind of unclear. But yeah, somebody's running, he stops, and then they pull him out.
Right, and then there's another body-worn video depicting a conversation of, I believe it was probably the sergeant when he was handcuffed in the police, in the cabin, in the back.
And there's some other footage, like ESPN had a reporter there who was trying to tell them, hey, wait, you know, what's going on, you know? And they turn around, hey, do you want to get arrested? Do you want to go with him?
Right.
So, but nothing of the exact interaction, that exact time when they had the interaction between him and Detective Gillis, because the body worn wasn't on.
Let's, from a criminal procedure perspective, from your lens, having you doing this job for decades, what are the lessons learned? Because they got dropped, and I suppose the first question I have is, why did they drop the charges?
Well, you know, if you think about it, today's age with body worn, prosecutors, if you don't have the body worn, how do they prove something? And a lot of them are gun shy, right? I mean, back in the day, we would take your word for it. Oh, yeah, this happened. If there's no body worn, then how do we prove what you say? And one of the interesting statements from the DA who ended up dismissing the case was, when he's talking to the court, he says, and Your Honor, Mr. Scheffler said this was a miscommunication amongst parties, which was corroborated. Okay, so somehow they corroborated, but they didn't have the body worn on, right? So that's one of the things I think that would be difficult for prosecutors to deal with, no body worn, because everyone expects that.
Right. And I suppose now I'm going to put my police hat on, and if I was the police sergeant, and again, there is, why we're breaking this down, to be a bit critical about how to handle something like this. I suppose if we were to turn the clock back, the first sergeant had seen is, you know, what do we have here? You know, in other words, risk versus reward.
Right.
What is it that we're trying to accomplish? And do we really have a felony crime? And maybe you can kind of chime in, what is it that the arrest report, or what kind of elements are we looking for in something along those lines? Because, again, we don't have no body-worn video. All we have is just what Detective Gill is pretty much is saying. And, you know.
Yeah, well, you know, I think when you break it down, it comes down to a miscommunication. So when I heard about it, and people are like, I'm going to see the body worn. I said, there's no way you're going to see body worn, because I bet you the guy didn't turn it on. Why? Because he was posting up. So you're not just going to leave your body worn on, because if you're out there, your battery's going to die, right? So you're supposed to turn it on when you have contact, but could you imagine flagging somebody down saying, hey, stop. Okay, well, are you necessarily going to turn your body worn on then? No, probably not for that.
Right.
And then eventually the interaction grows and escalates, okay? But also the miscommunication is, you know, we do so many of these events here in LA. You've got police there, even if there's an accident, somebody's holding the line, not letting cars through, right? So somebody would have let the car through. What do you think? Communicate, right? Hey, I'm letting this car through. This is a golfer who's going to go warm up.
Yeah.
But nobody told that to Gillis. How come? How come that wasn't communicated? So you've got this other communication now. And so now, does he really know, Scottie Scheffler, who's sitting there, does he really know who's there? Well, yeah. Should he have stopped? Again, they have people coming up to them all the time, right? You know, some may think, oh, maybe he was a little pompous. You know, maybe he wouldn't, you know, he was too full of himself. But everyone you talk to says he's the nicest guy around. And even when you listen to him in the car, you can hear him. He doesn't sound like somebody who's entitled. He sounds like somebody who's like, oh man, I can't believe that happened. What just happened? And he's trying to explain himself. So from the standpoint of what are the elements? Well, you got to show that this person knew clearly he was a police officer, right? Who knows? Mm-hmm. 2, now we have him being assaulted because he said, yeah, somebody came in and hit me with a flashlight. So if he's driving off, is he defending himself or just trying to get away from this guy who's assaulting him?
Right.
So you got no case there. What do you got? Nothing.
Yeah. That's from Scottie Scheffler. Now let's put on our defense hat, administrative hat, that is, for the officer. For I guess in this case would be Detective Gillis. Look, right off the bat, I can tell you from working in internal affairs, you have a violation of department policy. Mm-hmm. Like you said, whether or not you actually turned it on, perhaps not in the beginning, but I know at some point, and again, I don't know the policy of Louisville Metropolitan Police Department, but my thinking, and I'm assuming here, speculating that it's something along the lines that if you do have a detainment, then you have to turn it on. And he didn't. For whatever reason that may be, that in it itself is an allegation. Emotions are flying high.
Right.
There is no allegations for emotional intelligence. I get that part. Look, whether you felt that Scheffler was entitled and whether you felt you needed to escalate and you feel empowered, those are kind of issues of just maybe counseling, if that. So defending, let's just say the department gives it to this guy. And I say that because to my understanding, you can kind of chime in on this, is he's on a Brady list. He's had some prior sustained IA complaints. What's your thoughts?
Okay, so if I'm taking it from his perspective, I'm posted up. I am supposed to prevent people from coming in. Whether or not somebody communicated to me, I'm still there. And if I give somebody a command, they're supposed to listen, right? Because I'm trying to protect all of these people who are coming in. So I come in, telling this guy to stop. He's not following commands. I need to get him to understand you can't just go. I need to know who you are. You need to explain to me. And so I basically, who knows, maybe Scottie's giving him lip, because again, we don't know, we don't hear all that. But somehow he reacted enough to the point where he put himself inside the car and had physical contact. Why? It's only a guess.
Yeah, we don't know.
It's only a guess, but you got a subject who's not responding to you. Are you doing your job? I'm doing my job. In terms of activating, this is happening so quickly. From a tactical standpoint, I didn't have time to activate, right? So regardless of what happened in the past, it's unrelated to this particular instance. He doesn't have, as far as we know, any prior discipline for failing to activate, anything like that.
Right.
There's nothing for assault, anything like that. He's got some failures to appear, and then he's got this thing for like driving his car in donuts when he had someone in the car.
In the car, yeah.
But aside from that, there's nothing similar. So in terms of progressive discipline, what's this worth? Yeah. Hey, dude, you should have slowed down. Turn it on. No need to rush. You had somebody else up there who could have stopped him as well. Again, you got to think about it. Why is this car coming through? We'll counsel you. We'll tell you, do a better job. Do you need to be suspended? Probably not. I mean, the poor guy got hurt too, right?
I'm with you on that. I couldn't agree with you more. I think just because you have an allegation, department violation of policy or procedure, you know what? Let's counsel Detective Gillis. Hopefully we can learn. I think the biggest lesson for me, and hopefully, people can think it's soft or whatever they want to think, but I'm a true believer that we're sitting here talking about this incident. It already happened, about a month ago?
Right.
And conflict has not been resolved. There is no way that you had Scott Scheffler in a face-to-face with Detective Gillis. And again, I'm not saying to apologize, by no means, but there should be a conversation to have some closure. Because here's the bigger picture. We don't know if there is going to be another major tournament again in Louisville, right? And, and next thing you know, there's two things that we can have. Oh, well, you know what, Detective Gillis, we're not going to put you in gate one because look what happened last year. And again, I'm just assuming here.
But you know what's going to happen as a result of this, obviously. When they have a big event, right, they're going to make sure there's better communication, right? You're going to, all these things that didn't happen, they're going to dissect it, biopsy of the whole thing, and we should have done this, we should have done this,
Correct.
we should have done this. Give better training, let them know, hey, these guys, because all the pros, like him, have these cars that they're given by dealers, right? So they're dealer cars. So everyone knows if you're in this car, you're a golfer.
Yes.
Right? So recognize that. Recognize who these people are. Maybe there's something more that's on these cars, but they have to do a better job. So yeah, will they have more events? Yeah. Will they be better prepared? Absolutely.
Yes.
Is there going to be another screw up? You never know, because you can't anticipate all of that, right?
No, absolutely. You know what? Those are the lessons learned. Just wish that there was some resolution. For all we know, there might have been some resolution where they might have had that conversation. But at the end of the day, look, if you're a sergeant or at scene, hopefully, and again, this is something that maybe perhaps they did or they did not, but what do we really have here?
What do we really have?
You know, are we really going to arrest a pro golfer who's trying to get to his tee time? And now all of a sudden we're looking at a felony crime. I just don't know if that's the best course of action.
And, you know, the attitude, when you look at it from, I think, the ESPN camera that was there, they didn't care. You know, the officers, oh, no, you hurt one of our guys. Doesn't matter who you are.
Yeah.
We're going to arrest you. And I understand that. But again, as you said, stand back. What do you really have? How was it done? Is anyone at fault? I mean, they could have basically said, we're going to hold off. We're going to investigate. We need to know who you are, blah, blah, blah. We'll be in touch.
Yeah.
Instead of making this huge spectacle of it, instead of booking him, instead of having his booking photo out there, instead of having it where you file charges and then dismiss because you realize you don't have it.
100%.
They could have resolved all of that.
Yeah, no, totally.
Yeah.
Hey, man, thanks for for that breakdown. I beg to ask, what's your handicap, man?
Oh man, my handicap is myself. I'm terrible. So, you know, just going out there, it's bad.
Is he on the front nine or the back nine? That's all I know about.
Oh,
golf.
you know, it's
Which one do you prefer?
It probably takes me 9 holes. Now, let's put it this way, 18 holes. By the 15th hole, I finally got a swing. So I got like 3 good holes. That's it.
And a birdie somewhere in there.
Not even every other month, every other full moon, something like that.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
For always
My
coming
pleasure.
down, and you know I'm going to call you and something else hot comes down.
Yeah, it's fun.
You'll be the first one to call.
Anytime, man. Thank you.
Thank you. And for that, we are going to wrap it up. And again, like always, you know what? Please be safe out there, and don't forget to go Code 6. Thank you.